And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome into Juckonbucks on Monday, September 2nd. My birthday. It is a late one tonight, and I tried to come and do a live with you this morning. As you know, if you watch the weekend show, I'm having some technical difficulties, some internet issues, and I really apologize. I appreciate you guys sticking with me while I work all this out and try to become a real podcaster. It's not gone as smooth as possible, but today I am 45. So for my advanced age, I'm doing okay. But my point is, I have been contacting these people. They've been telling me there's nothing wrong. And I'm going crazy because clearly something has changed. This never used to happen when I went live. Well, today I finally got a competent one, and they said, we're seeing a lot of interruptions. Thank you. I'm not going crazy. So they're sending someone out tomorrow. And the reason this is a big deal is because I want to start doing the 9 o'clock show live a whole lot more instead of coming to you in recorded version from early in the morning, 2 in the morning, whenever I upload it. I want to come to you live. I want to talk on the chat. I think it's great. I've got to get over this hurdle of being so nervous about it. I stumble on my words. And the reason I haven't done it is because I've been telling myself the finished product isn't as good, right? Only this many people watch the show live, but this many people watch it later. And if the finished product isn't as good, then I should just keep recording it. But really, I'm just doing that because I'm scared. That's just what it is. I don't know why, but I got to get over it. I got to push through it. So I'm going to try to do it. Hold me to it. And we're going to get through it. We're going to be a live show. It's just going to take time and me getting through it. And I'm going to. Now, I don't even know where to start. I got so much to talk about. Let's start with new Big Ten member, USC. Represented the Big Ten, and I've now officially welcomed them into the Big Ten. I'm not some guy who's some Big Ten homer. Never have been. But whenever it's a Big Ten SEC matchup, particularly with one of the bigs in the SEC, like LSU, I am always polling for the Big Ten team, even when it's a coach that I can't stand, like Lincoln. The good news is he was playing Brian Kelly, who I maybe can't stand even more. I don't know, pretty close between those two. But Lincoln gets the Big Ten, the big win over the SEC. And I'm telling you straight up, not only am I welcoming into the Big Ten, they are officially the team out west. USC is that team out west. Congratulations to that team out west, as they, not Oregon, are the team out west at Juckonbucks from here on out until Oregon proves they deserve it, because they certainly did not, and we'll get to that one as well. But USC held LSU and Garrett Nussmeier to 20 points. LSU supposedly has the best offensive line in college football. Matter of fact, my nephew just told me the other day, Roman, that in the game, he's always LSU because the offensive line is so good. Everybody knows this. 2 excellent tackles, first rounders. USC held them to 117 yards rushing. That's fantastic. That LSU team, better skill position players than anybody in the Big Ten outside of SC, Oregon, and Ohio State. The defensive line, pretty doggone good. Miller Moss led the offense 27 for 37, 378 yards. I had originally thought heading into the season, all the preseason stuff I did, that bringing over Blake Baker as the LSU defensive coordinator could potentially do what Jim Knowles did when he came to Ohio State, which is plug a hole and make it immediately better year one. Not great. They don't got the pieces yet, but immediately shows some serious improvement. And instead of that, well, it actually might have happened. They did pretty well. I didn't think D'Anton Lynn would be able to do that coming from UCLA to USC, their new defensive coordinator, because I just kind of thought they would need to get more pieces. I didn't think they had as much talent on the defensive line. They look pretty doggone talented. D'Anton Lynn did great. And SC, they're legit, I think. Like, I don't think this is a case of LSU is just not that good. I think SC is going to be legit this year. And all of the Big Ten projections everybody was doing when looking at their schedule and just kind of glossing over SC. Yeah, I don't think that's the case, man. The Buckeyes don't have them on the schedule this year, but quite a few do. In fact, Michigan plays Texas this weekend. Then they play Arkansas State. Then they play SC. All of a sudden, that game just took on a very different tone. Michigan looked exactly as most of us thought they would look. Would they go with Alex Orji? Would they go with Jack Tuttle? Would they go with Davis Warren? We heard all summer long, all the whole offseason that this was probably going to be Alex Orji. Alex Orji loses the job to the walk-on cancer survivor, an excellent story. He had leukemia in 2019. Really happy for that dude, living his dream. That's awesome. Rooting for his success off the football field, definitely not on the football field with them. But man, how bad is Alex Orji? This dude comes in, throws 2 balls, dirts a ball. He dirted this ball so bad, it was humiliating. They let him carry the ball 5 times for 32 yards. A tremendous athlete, and we should really consider ourselves lucky because if that kid ever learns how to throw, man, he's going to be dynamic. Crazy athlete. But he can't. Donovan Edwards against Fresno State, 11 carries for 27 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. I mean, pathetic. They had the backup in looking better than this guy who's on the cover of that game. All off season, he's been saying he's learned how to be a different back, not try to hit the home run. I don't know if that was the case the other night or if he's just that bad. But we saw this early last year too. The guy's just not, he's never going to be like Blake Corum. They've been amping him up all off season. He's not that dude. He's just not. Michigan wins the game 30-10, but it was way closer than that. They end up scoring right at the end of the game. Will Johnson with a sweet pick 6, jumped a route, an obvious route, but a great play by him, not taking anything away from him, though he did give up quite a few catches that particular game. And they just look bad, dude. They look bad. Sharon Moore after the game said, what's he going to work on? What are they going to improve? Everything. He's just going to work on everything. Just the most generic garbage response. They're putting on the hard hat, going to work type of deal. They're going to tire with this guy real fast because this team is not good. And they thought that they weren't going to miss a beat, switching the entire coaching staff almost over, losing all that talent. They weren't going to miss a beat. Everybody has been waiting for this for so long for them to get their comeuppance. And here it comes. We're 6 days away, 5 days away. Here comes Texas. Texas rolling into town. How'd they play? Well, they went up against a really tough opponent with the most desired quarterback who wasn't on the market last year. Remember, Brandon Nicolosi Fowler, whatever that kid's name is, Jay Norvell came out and told us during the offseason that Kansas State tried to get him from Colorado State for $400,000. Remember that story? So a very much in-demand quarterback. And Colorado State, not so hot. Texas beat him 52-0. Quinn Ewers threw for 260, 3 touchdowns, and they pulled him in the third quarter, and in came Arch. Now, we talked about the playoffs with that poor picture of Quinn at the table there set up, all the media members over talking to the backup. It was embarrassing. I felt bad for him. This dude's been so good for them. He's one of the Heisman frontrunners, going to be a first-round pick. Arch comes in, standing ovation, the place goes bananas. I don't get it. However, I'm a huge hater. I've been hating on Arch since high school. The dude's the real deal, man. He just is. He's really, really good. Got a great head on his shoulders. He's going to be a good one. And we're going to play him next year. Hell, we might play him this year. You never know what happens here. But he's good. Flipped a little touchdown out there. Some improvising. He was damn good. Who else was good? Watch the Nebraska game. My goodness. Rayola's the real deal. And they got some receivers. We talked about them in the portal. This kid almost tries too hard to look like Mahomes, but his game's a whole hell of a lot like him. Works with the people who train Mahomes. He does all the goofy arm slots. Really strange. His footwork. It's like you would kill it. The quarterback coach would look at it and just cringe. It's interesting. You'll notice it if you watch him play. Watch his highlights. Look at his feet. Really strange, but he got it done. He looks poised. He's good. He's going to be real good. So good for Nebraska. And I got a question from somebody recently. Why is everybody calling Nebraska a tough out? They haven't been anything for 20 years. I look at the coaching staff at hand. The coaching staff is all that matters. It doesn't matter what you've done previously. What's happened since Rule's been there? They jacked up the NIL. They're going getting transfers. They're bringing in good recruits, much better than they have before in the last 20 years. So everything's now different. It's basically a reset on the program. The question is, can they get to the top again? But can they be good again? Absolutely, Nebraska can be good again. Last year, they lost a bunch of close games, still lost. They won 5 games. A bunch of those were close. Once they clear that hurdle, and I think they will this year, they're absolutely going to be a tough out. The Big Ten, very, very different all of a sudden. Penn State, with their new offensive coordinator, Andy Kolenicki, comes in, and in the first game, things look so different. Drew Allar's pushing the ball down the field. He looks fantastic. He is big. He's strong. I really enjoy watching him perform well. He's a kid I've always pulled for. He's from right down the street here. I wished he was at Ohio State, and he really got trashed last year playing for some garbage coaching. And now, under some good coaching, he looks like he should. And then all of a sudden, oh, shit, Penn State's pretty damn good. Let's not be this good. So interesting to watch them. The defense looked great. I don't know, guys. That's a damn good looking team. So now let's get to Miami. We got to get to Miami. Listen, I've been telling you guys, there is no way with what they've done in the portal and in the last couple of cycles recruiting that they were not going to absolutely out-talent everybody on that schedule. And I don't give a damn what people say Clemson's talent composite is. Miami is a more talented team than them. They're a more talented team than Florida State. And the only way they were not going to win the ACC and go to the playoffs is if Mario got in their way. Now, he still might. But what we saw against Florida was a team that just was in a different class. Not only that, but a team that's playing together, playing with swagger. That's a really, really good team. It's a top 10 team for sure. And I've been saying listen, I know there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon yet. This is a video I made 5 months ago. Miami will make the first 12-team playoff. And I pounded this point home so much because everybody pushed back. You see that? That's a lot of views for a brand new channel. So many people called me a moron and pushed back on that because of the exact idea that the guy about Nebraska said. Look at them in the last 20 years. That means nothing. You look at the coaching staff in place and the support given to the program. A ton of support. They have gone out there and gotten everybody they wanted. Won big-time NIL battles against everybody else. Won recruiting battles. Beat Ohio State for some recruits. Doesn't matter how they did it. They got it done, and those guys are now on their team. And they're getting it done. They're absolutely the favorite to win the ACC. 100%. Georgia humiliated Clemson. Clemson and Florida, these are two teams that I think as well, as much as Dabo's done for Clemson, and what he did was amazing. Absolutely took a good program and made them elite. We haven't seen it since Miami, a team just out of nowhere kind of become an elite program. And he did that. It's the hardest thing in football to do. But the dude, he's just too stubborn to get it, too stubborn to evolve. They're never going to get back to where they were with him. It's pretty clear it's not happening. Billy Napier at Florida, despite his defenders, and there were a lot of defenders, some high-profile college football guys defending Billy Napier. He's a good coach in the offseason. This guy is a bonehead, and he's about to have a third straight losing season at the University of Florida. Where does that job rank now in the SEC? Is it below the mid-level line? It just might be. It is amazing how far they have fallen. That you got a coach who is about to have his third straight losing season, and there are still people defending him, wanting to give him more time. The AD talked before the game about the process and being slow with him and giving him his time, and he believes in him. They gave this guy so much money for his support staff. They did nothing in the portal. They lost Etienne. They lost their best pass rusher to Ole Miss. They didn't replace him with anybody. This guy is a moron. It's clear. It's plain as day. Every time he talks.
The experience and how confident you were in this team going into the season, just how disappointing and surprising was this performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. Yep, that's how I feel. That's how our kids feel. And we've got a decision to make. You know, I mean, I think we have. It's what I just.
You got no decision to make, Billy. They got no decision to make. They're outmatched, out-talented, and they can't do anything about it. And that's why you got players tweeting things like this after the game. Are you serious, dude? This is your team. This is what's come of Florida football. Florida, they're the next Nebraska, the next Tennessee, the next team that just disappears for a decade and a half. I don't see it happening for them anytime soon. So the big losers of the week, Clemson and Florida. LSU, not so much. But Brian Kelly did deliver one of the phoniest things that I've seen since Brian Kelly, his phony accent. Take a look at Brian Kelly after the game. Now, I want you to watch this clearly and think, if I was a coach, what would I do to make sure they understand that I get it? Because they're going to be saying, oh, he doesn't get it. He's not getting to him. The same problems over and over. Take ownership and be real, real mad about it. This is phony as all hell.
And we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better, because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. That's phony as hell. That dude's a fraud. He always has been. I cannot wait till he burns LSU down and they get him the hell out of there. You know why? LSU is one of the programs that I don't hate in the SEC. I hate most of them. There's something unique about the people of Louisiana, the LSU fan base, that I kind of dig. I kind of jive with them. LSU is not a team I've always found offensive. We'll put it that way. And I find him repugnant. I can't stand the guy. I enjoy watching him suffer. Now, Oregon, what are you doing, man? How you guys feeling, Juckeyes? We were told this was a juggernaut. This team was so special. You couldn't run the ball against the Idaho Vandals. Dylan Gabriel with 4.3 yards per target? What is that? How can you not? What's wrong with the offensive line? These Ducks, you got your mascot going to the Big Ten stadiums. You got the big rubber duck in the river. You're over here calling yourself the team out west with documentaries before the season, telling everybody what you're going to do into the Big Ten. And USC came and ripped that title from you of the team out west. You look like trash. You got your head coach pouting to the reporter.
I'm just wondering, what did you tell the team in the locker room after the win?
Well, that's for the team. That's for the team in the locker room. If we wanted you guys there, we would have everybody else in there.
Front left, Eric. How about just what the mood is generally amongst those guys?
There's areas for improvement for us right now. You know, you celebrate wins in our program when that happens, but there's some areas for improvement.
Coach,
I'll say, I do think that I still really, really believe in this team. Minor setback. I think Dan's going to use that to really fire them up. I'm not wavering on how good I think that team is. I think that's a really good team, and they will get it together. But that's embarrassing. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you can use that to your advantage. And I think we're going to see the team that most of us suspected we would see in a couple of weeks. But nonetheless, it was pretty fun to watch. I got to be honest. Now, let's talk about our Buckeyes. And well, first, let me talk about the sponsor of today's show, the official sponsor of Juckonbucks, Columbus Apparel Co. They are shipping out the Juckeyes shirts tomorrow, so they couldn't do it today, but they're ready. They're going out tomorrow, and those are going out to all of the members, the Juckonbucks members on the YouTube page. And if you want to be a member, you can sign up over at the Juckonbucks channel. If you're watching this on Minutes to Sports and you like the show, please subscribe over there for me. I'd really appreciate it. And Columbus Apparel, sending those out to the members at columbusapparelco.com. You can find a full line of Juckonbucks merchandise, as well as a ton of Ohio and Columbus themed merchandise. And what they're really into is custom printing shirts and apparel. They are excellent at it. They'll make sure it's done right. And if you check them out at columbusapparelco.com, use Juck20 and you're going to get 20% off. Fantastic deal. Fantastic folks. They're Buckeyes. We support our own around here, so do check them out, please. All right, so we've had a lot of time to go over all the stats, press conference, Dylan. Overall, what do we take away from it? I had a list of questions that I was hoping to get answered heading into the game. I definitely got a lot of them answered. And I think we got a ton of positives from that game. It wasn't perfect, but if you came out and you were perfect in game one, you'd have not a whole lot to work on going into game two. So it's good that there were some mistakes. We played a ton of guys, and the majority played really well. Some not so hot, but the biggest question I had heading into the game, maybe not the biggest, but one of the top, was how are they going to use JJ? I wanted to see this man get his targets. You busted your butt to win this recruitment of this generational player. You get him in. What are you going to do with him? He's done everything right. He's exceeded every expectation. He's gained. I think the rest of the team views him as a vet, man. He's not a freshman. He's a vet. He has led by example, led the older guys by example, won the Iron Buckeye as a freshman, fastest to ever get his black stripe removed, says things like, Marvin Harrison didn't start his freshman year. Why do I got to? Like, the humility and just the maturity, the understanding. Play this man, get him his targets. They did that. And I now think the way he performed, you run that passing game through him. Make every defense game plan for this guy, because his highlights just went all around the country. I mean, everybody is on notice. Okay, he's here. He's for real. And those of you watching from other fan bases, we tried to tell you. Recognize how difficult the catch was that he made with the Akron guy pinning his right arm down with his left hand, his offhand pinned to his body, goes to the ground, slams on the ground on his left shoulder, remains control. That was just a Tuesday at practice for that kid. That was nothing. And that is a extremely high level of difficulty. The first touchdown, additionally, he makes that look easy. For anybody else, that's a highlight catch. The dude's different. He's 100% different, and we use that word a lot these days. This guy truly is different. We use that way too much. So I was thrilled to see not only did he lead the team in targets, but he had 6 in the first half after the drop and the penalty. JJ had 6 receptions for 8 total targets. Emeka, 4 receptions on 7 targets. Carnell Tate, 4 receptions on 5 targets. Ballard had 2. Bryson and B.I. had 1. Trey had 1. Q had 1. And Will Kazmarek also had 1. So use him early and often. Make him game plan for it. And the happiest people about that news are going to be Carnell Tate and Emeka Egbuka. And B.I. B.I., 17 snaps. Looked amazing in the punt return game. Really excited for him, man. That guy is absolutely going to cement himself at some point in this season as, oh, yeah, that's another one. Another one of those first-round Ohio State wide receivers. Along with Carnell, JJ will not. JJ is different. He is not the next Ohio State first-round wide receiver. He is on a different stratosphere, a different career trajectory, a potential first or second pick in the draft. Like, he could be that good. It's just nuts. And you've got to use him. And kudos to Ryan Day, who at times I mean, granted, this is a different caliber of player. I don't even want to say at times, just basically as a standard, has been slow to play the younger guys. And you look at a team like Georgia and Ohio State last year, Georgia played 50% more snaps. They're freshmen than Ohio State's freshmen last year. And I think that that's something that he is, when he talked about his philosophical change, I think that's something he is trying to get into, playing the younger guys early. And I love seeing it. JJ had a press conference after the game. Maybe half the questions were about the dropped ball, which I found extremely annoying. He didn't at all. Way more mature than me, super poised, absolutely loved it. But that drop ball, it reminded me immediately of, Eddie and Eddie's fumbles. And it's just a really cool story. Pretty poetic. There's a TikTok going around about it. Somebody, tells the story and makes it dramatic. Absolutely flying around the internet. Really cool TikTok. But it's a cool way to start the journey. It really was. Everything about it was perfect. It was a perfect first game. So an amazing bright spot for the game was JJ. Another really awesome bright spot. And another one of my questions heading in was, what are we going to do on the defensive line? How are they going to play this depth? And it was perfect. And I really hope that it's a sign of things to come, because I think that your guys like Jack and JT and Tyleek, when you need them most, if you can have them fresh, it's the absolute best way to go. And if you can do that, having very little to almost no drop off in some cases with that too deep, I mean, it's foolish not to use that to your advantage. That's a luxury. That's a crazy luxury that you fought for, that you got those guys to come back for, and they absolutely utilized it to their advantage against Akron. I hope it wasn't just an early cupcake season thing. And we do got 2 more cupcake games and a bye week, which essentially means we've got 4 weeks to get everything right before we head in to the real season. In the end, Jack had 31 snaps. JT had 30. KENYATTA had 22. Caden Curry had 16. Mitchell Melton had 15. Edric Houston had 11. Josh Mickens even had 8. So that's our ends. On the inside, Tyleek had 40. Ty Hamilton had 35. And the third guy behind those two should be no surprise, KAYDEN McDONALD. Jim Knowles, we've heard him bring him up twice unprompted in the last 2 weeks. 17 snaps for KAYDEN McDONALD. Hero Kanu had 9. Will Smith and Jason Moore had 7. They both graded out pretty poorly. We thought towards the end of spring and maybe heading into preseason camp that Jason Moore was going to be that next dude. And he's just not quite ready yet. KAYDEN McDONALD definitely ahead of him. And KAYDEN McDONALD and Hero Kanu are going to be those next 2 guys in. A couple things that pop off to me reading those numbers. KENYATTA Jackson playing more than Caden. Curry playing more than Mitchell Melton. And KENYATTA looked amazing. Best he's ever looked. Mitchell Melton, Caden Curry both looked really good. Mitchell Melton had a great tackle. He blocked, shed the block, made the tackle all in one motion. It was gorgeous. He looks big out there. Caden Curry caused the fumble with the big hit that, credit Hero Kanu for an assist on that with his pressure. It was awesome. It was awesome. They were nasty. They were coming after him. I just couldn't be happier with the way they played it. So if that's a sign of things to come, that's just fantastic. The highest graded defensive linemen, Caden Curry, Jack Sawyer, and Tyleek Williams. After them, KENYATTA, Mitchell Melton, Edric Houston, all graded out slightly better than JT because JT had a few missed tackles. All in all, they all played good. KAYDEN McDONALD played damn good, graded out higher than Ty Hamilton. I expect to see him more than that 17 snap share. At corner, Denzel and IGB played about 50 snaps apiece. Jermaine Matthews had 19, did great in his 19 snaps. Aaron Scott got 10. At safety, so did Malik, and Jaden McClain both got 10. So in Scott and McClain, you're playing the freshman. I love it. Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom both played 55 snaps. Lathan Ransom won the silver bullet of the game. So excited for that dude. He has not been shy that all the talk about Caleb Downs has somewhat made him not feel so hot. Maybe kind of pushed to the side. And I think that's great that he was able to come out and show everybody, remind them. It's kind of the same way I was feeling about Trey when Quinshawn comes in and everybody starts immediately calling him the best running back on the team, which somewhat bothered me, as Trey's our guy. He chose us out of high school. He came and developed into an NFL player here at Ohio State. He loves Ohio State. And you got a guy coming in who did all that at another place. He's already an NFL player coming in, the new guy. And it just like, I don't know. I felt like Trey was getting pushed to the side. I didn't like it. It's the transfer portal. I got to get over this. I realize Quinn's our guy now too. You know, and I'll get there. It's just taking me a little longer, I guess, than most. However, Trey was explosive. And for some reason, every time this same thing happened last year after, you know, he was injured the year prior, but the same thing happened last year when he came in and everybody saw, wow, this dude's amazing. Yeah, he is. Everybody constantly needs reminded. The dude's amazing. He is a difference maker. He looked tremendous, and happy for both of those guys. Quinshawn looked like he had a little bit of nerves going on. Ryan Day said as much as well. And that's to be expected. But fantastic. At linebacker, pretty interesting, as Sonny played 55 snaps. CJ started the game next to Sonny with Cody out. CJ played 32 snaps. Arvell played 33, so more than CJ. I don't know if that was the plan or if that was because CJ wasn't playing as well as Arvell, but Arvell played great. Another huge bright spot when you think of how far he's come, how quickly. From relative, people talked about him in the spring, but it was more like, look at how amazing this guy is physically. Look at his body. Look, you know, what's he going to be like at some point? There was no like, this dude's going to be your number 3 linebacker. Nobody was calling for that. At that point, it was Gabe Powers. Gabe Powers was that dude. CJ Hicks was that dude. Arvell is now that dude. Arvell absolutely played way better than CJ Hicks. CJ, tremendous pass rusher. Got that sack. It was great. But just like James has said about him for the longest, not trust in his eyes. And I got a lot of comments about he's slow. CJ's a fast man. He's not slow. He's just late. I don't know if this is something that's going to get any better for him. I sure hope it will, for his sake, because I don't know, you know, you can always use him in a specialty kind of role, but I don't know how you play him over Arvell. I really don't. Arvell looked tremendous. He really did, which is great to see, because if he didn't, you know, that wouldn't be so hot. As far as grades, he was a 42, CJ, 42 in the run game. Sonny, 71. Arvell, 71. Gabe Powers and Peyton Pierce, 65. So he wasn't great there. In coverage, he gave up 3 receptions and 4 targets. And I hope that if Cody doesn't play, that they run him out there again to play just as many snaps, having a week to, all right, let's watch all the mistakes and let's go see what you got, and just give him some more time. Now, the offensive line. Originally, one of my questions coming in, and one of the things I really wanted to see, was them to come out and just pound out somebody that they should early and often. Take it to them and just look dominant. In hindsight, that was a pretty tall task when you're talking about Austin Serveld at left guard making his first ever start, Seth McLaughlin making his first ever start at Ohio State, at center, and at right guard, Tegra Shabola making his first ever start. Expecting them to come out and do that on top of the illness when so many of them miss practice, you know, probably a tall ask. And they actually played better than it felt to me while I was watching the first time. And that's because I went in the first time thinking they're going to do this. They're going to blow them up. They're going to blow them off the ball. They're coming off camp. There's going to be no missed assignments. And there was plenty. But going in now, the second time, thinking this wasn't so hot, it was like, you know, the expectations were different. And then all of a sudden it's like, this wasn't bad. There were just some missed assignments. All in all, the only player who really wasn't good on the offensive line, Searveld graded out pretty good. I don't think he looked quite as good as his grades were. Josh Fryer graded out worst. And he also, it was obvious he looked the worst. The thing is, when you miss assignments, those are correctable things. Those are correctable and they will be corrected. Like I said, you got 4 weeks to correct it. Some things you can't correct, and that is, I'm just not skilled enough, fleet of foot enough, or powerful enough, or have the proper technique to beat that guy. Now, he did go up against a dude who I think is probably going to end up transferring out of Akron and probably playing in the Big Ten at some point. That Nunley, he's a stud, best player on the team. But Josh Fryer is going to go against plenty of those type of guys in the Big Ten, and it wasn't good enough. Really disappointing. I'm really rooting for that guy. He came out and talked about how they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. He's the tackle everybody wanted replaced in the transfer portal. Seth McLaughlin's the worst center in college football. Josh Simmons is the kid from San Diego State. Donovan Jackson, if he was any good, he'd be in the NFL. He said that all, and he came out and maybe he tried to play with a chip on his shoulder, but it was not good enough. And he went out and got the Iron Buckeye in the spring, in the fall. Only guy to do it twice. We heard that he was playing great in camp. Were we sold a bill of goods? Did he just have a bad game? I don't know, but it wasn't good enough. So I'm really rooting for that dude. I hope he gets it together, obviously for the team, but for him personally as well. I got a soft spot for him when he came out and was talking about not liking playing for the team at times, or saying it was bad when, fans are tweeting nasty things about him. And that's just unnecessary. You can talk about someone's play without saying things like that. That always bothers me a lot. But it wasn't good enough. He knows it. And I got faith that he'll get better. Now, the tight ends, that was another one of my questions. How are they going to break this down? Is Jelani going to get some run? And he sure did. G played 20 snaps. I'm sorry, Will Kazmarek played 20 snaps. G Scott played 19, and Jelani played 18 snaps. And none of them were very good. There was only one target, and that was to Will Kazmarek. Will Howard put it in a place where only he could get to it, and it was a really good ball in that sense. It would have been a really great catch if Will Kazmarek got it. It caught it. He could not catch it, but, it was the blocking that was not so hot. G in particular is someone I was really concerned about heading into the season. And, for someone who's such a great Buckeye and someone that everybody roots for, he's a great teammate. Easy to love that guy. Absolutely. Great leader. I was hoping to see improvement. I really wasn't expecting it. I didn't see much from last year as far as his blocking goes. Missed assignments, a poor angle at the goal line, got blown up. His guy almost stopped Quinshawn short of the goal line. It just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't. And if you're only going to throw to the tight ends once a game, are you not better off with maybe Bennett Christian and Will Kazmarek? Two guys who could just block really well. Will Kazmarek can catch the ball some. What does G do for you? He catches the ball. He's a liability blocking. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. I don't know how much more he has room to improve at this point. He's not going to change his body. He got out muscled. He takes poor angles and missed assignments. Like that's the trifecta there. For me, I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm over the experience with the G Scott getting that many snaps. And sad to say it because I do love the guy, but that's just, I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. And that's where I'm at with that. I've got a whole lot more to say about the game, but now we're over an hour, and maybe I'll say it live tomorrow if this guy comes and fixes this internet soon. And we're going to do it, guys. So I appreciate you all so very much. Well, maybe I should get to a couple comments. Do we got some comments today? I know we got some pictures. Let's go over a couple of pictures. Oh, shoot. I didn't even get to Philly Bell. Dev Sanchez in his opening game, they absolutely whooped on the opponent 38-0, and they didn't throw the ball to Devin's side of the field once. The Longhorn 14-13 says, I used to hate you, Juck, but I'm a fan now. Keep it up. I love the content. Bro, whatever I did, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I don't know. Texas fan? Is that why you used to hate me, or am I just that bad? Thomas says, nice 46-point win, but way below massively heightened expectations, especially for a much more imaginative offensive scheme. It seemed eerily like a day offense, as Coach Kelly did not appear happy upstairs. He didn't look happy upstairs. He did not. To me, it just looked like this obviously wasn't the case, but it looked like he was pouting because he had to go upstairs. Chipster was pouting up there. But, you know, I don't think we're going to see much imagination or creativity in these first couple of weeks. And, you know, this is when you're working on the basics and not really going to show much. But that was one of my questions. Are we going to see any creativity out of Chip? We definitely did not. And no, he didn't look happy, which was funny. And there's our dude, Lathan, getting his silver bullet in that is I think that's Knowles' offense or office. And it is just like, it reminds me of, it's just really old and dated. And like, what is this, man? That looks like school in 1998. Jeremiah Smith. These morons are still doing this with the sunglasses on the sideline. You got to come up with something new every year. Elijah Melendez. Elijah Melendez is a linebacker out of Florida that I really, really wanted, and James was in trying to flip him early from Miami until things kind of picked up steam in other directions, and we kind of pulled off of it. And he was very hardcore into Miami. He wasn't really flippable at that point. He has now decommitted from Miami, and this is the way linebacker play is going. This is why Eli Lee has become so much more valuable. We are seeing so much more classic run game, and we're sitting here recruiting 215-pound linebackers that we're going to put some weight on. Eli Lee's 230. Elijah Melendez, obviously, you see him. Dude's amazing. He just might be my favorite linebacker in the class. He's just ridiculous. Guess where he's going? Auburn. He hasn't announced this yet, but that's what I suspect is going on. So Auburn about to pull another coup on top of hearing that Naeem Offord has been given a crystal ball by Tom Loy of 247 to flip to Auburn. Now, I just still have a hard time believing that Auburn's the place. I've thought for a while, if he does flip, Oregon is the biggest threat there. That would be a real bummer. But if Naeem Offord does flip, let's hope it happens earlier so the Buckeyes have time to then go offer a very desirable open spot to someone else who's committed elsewhere. Because now you're talking about one corner, the best in the country, and you get to play beside him at Ohio State for OG Walt. That is a desirable position. So if Offord doesn't want it, let's hope he makes that decision quick and doesn't putz around till way late in the process, giving them no time. Even still, I don't think it's a big deal anymore, and I'll tell you why. Outside of offensive line, the Buckeyes have shown that if they need a primetime player, they can go get it. We've seen that if you need to build a secondary through the portal, it's not really an issue. Oregon just built, I think, 4 out of their 5 secondary players out of the portal. And it's just something that's way easier to do than a lot of other positions. Those guys will move. Ohio State's a desirable spot for a corner. And if it's needed, you can get them. Different than offensive linemen, you can guarantee to get yourself a secondary guy and a quality one. Not so much at offensive line. So, they'll get somebody else, but maybe not to, definitely not to the quality of Naeem Offord. He's the second best guy in the class, and you already got the first. who, by the way, just one more opportunity to shout out Devin Sanchez and the family who, you know, they're just different. They're just the priorities they have. You can't compare them to many other folks. Well, outside of Tavian St. Clair, that family as well. Absolutely love having those guys aboard. What a way to start the class. And about the class, Phillip Bell joins the class. Phillip Bell, wide receiver out of Mission Viejo in California, top 200 overall guy, top 20-ish wide receiver, pretty much across the board. 6 foot, 6.5 inches, 190 pounds. Not a fast guy, but has some really good body control, some good hands. And let's watch a little film on Phillip Bell. All right. So Phillip Bell now joins the wide receiver class, and you got 4 guys now. You got Quincy Porter, the borderline 5-star, 6'3", had a great game against IMG, 90-yard touchdown that he took the distance from like a 10-yard screen pass, and he looked amazing. Fast and physical. Then you got Phillip Bell. Then you got Des Jones, the slot guy, who's a burner, crisp route runner, pretty underrated dude. Then you got Bodpin Miller, your project guy. And Bodpin Miller, as far as an athlete project guy, doesn't get much better than that. A kid with size, crazy speed, good body control, good hands, and a great attitude who's going to stay in the program. It really does not get any better than that. He is a 5-star athlete. If they were truly judging, okay, this kid's an athlete, how are we going to judge him? Absolutely a 5-star athlete. And as you can see, Phillip Bell, really good body control, good hands, not a burner. And we're talking like maybe mid-11 range in the 100. Compare that to a guy like Riley Pettijohn at linebacker running a 10-7. You know what I mean? Riley Pettijohn would smoke this wide receiver, which is pretty funny. But it speaks more to Riley than it does negatively against Phil Bell. But Phillip Bell committed on Saturday, which I don't know why you would commit. Never mind. Of course I know. It was his mom's birthday. I was about to say something stupid. Why would he commit on college football first big game? But kudos to our guy, man. So shout out to Phillip Bell. He's a stud. I'm pretty excited about this one. I think this is a guy that some people were thinking, was he a take for the longest time? I think Brian Hartline believed he was always a take and always really wanted him. And as you can see, he comes up with some big time catches. Look at that. That looked really good. That was some speed. So that is Phillip Bell. Oh, this is a good one too. Well, never mind. That wasn't the one. Okay. So here we are with 26 guys. And if you just look at how nice and balanced this is, you got your quarterback, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, 2 tight ends, 2 corners, 3 safeties, 3 defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends, 3 linebackers. You look how pretty that is. That's just beautiful. You got yourself a ball club here, man. Look at that. Now, what would you like to add? You'd like to add 1 more offensive lineman for sure. And as far as guys that may potentially flip, you got a couple candidates. According to the recruiting insider experts, they think TJ Alford, Naeem Offord, Jarquez Carter, and Zahir Mathis are all flip candidates to go along with Naeem Offord, who we just discussed. So 5 guys, potential flip candidates. I don't think Jarquez Carter is a danger. I don't think TJ Alford is a danger. I do think Zahir Mathis is a danger. And by the way, Zahir Mathis looked really good the other night and much bigger. Offord, man, who knows? Who knows? But that's how we're looking. A fantastic class. Hopefully we can swing another offensive lineman. That would be great. And hopefully we can just keep it together. And, I'm all for adding as many good players as you can, because remember, you lose a lot to graduation, and we lost 25 guys in the portal last year. If it's something similar, that's a lot of places, a lot of spots to fill, graduation plus another 20 to 25 transfers, you're only bringing in 26 guys in the class. And the scholarship limit goes from 85 to 105, which, you don't need to be there right away. You're probably going to bring a lot of those walk-ons who are now basically getting booted out of the program or placed on scholarship. So you're bringing a lot of them up. That's the good thing to do. That's the right thing to do. There's a lot of those spots. I mean, you're not going to fill all those spots with guys that you ever anticipate playing. Let's be honest. Some of those spots, you can't keep on your ball club 105 guys that you anticipate will play for you. You're just going to have a revolving door, which is why the best thing to do is definitely keep a designated amount of those spots that are going to be just transfers every year, and a designated amount of spots that are going to be Ohio kids who are going to want to stay in the program and shoot for their main goal to be in year 4 or year 5, which we've now just heard they're trying to give a 5th year of eligibility in some. I haven't even read the story. I don't understand why I don't understand why the changes with the eligibility. It's like it doesn't even exist anymore. Dudes play for 7 years somehow. I don't get it. So it's almost impossible to know who has how many years of eligibility left. I'm constantly puzzled by this, but that's what it is. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm done. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe over at Juckonbucks. I really need your help over there. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. That's it. Juckonbucks out.